Howdy, YouTubers. So, there's nothing more important to me than making sure that people are self-sufficient and creators of their own reality, right? Nobody should have to go through anybody else to become a better version of themselves. All you have to do is know the right process to put yourself through to ascend in consciousness and become a super being. You are a super being. And all you have to do is make sure that you know how to do it. I don't want you to come to me and say, hey, Brian, how do I do this? No, 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 no. You have the power to do whatever you want. So, for one thing, I want people to be able to connect in a way that is mutually supportive to make sure that nobody's depending on each other and nobody's placing their burdens on one another, right? I mean, that's kind of the optimal thing, don't you guys think? Right? Okay. So, I'm going to use a couple slides that I used in one of my other videos. So I'm going to start this week, I'm going to build this video, and then tomorrow I'm going to build another video that kind of builds on that idea to see how, first we want to see what's happening internally to us as we grow, as we support our environment, and then naturally attract what it is that we need. And then that moves to a way that we connect in a way that promotes and supports that, and at the same time pushes people out of the system that aren't on that same path, right? Because you want to be able to connect with people in relationships that are mutually supportive, and then you're just naturally getting what each other needs because you're, for one thing, you grow more psychic, more clairvoyant. So you can understand, you can feel what somebody might need or not need, and naturally provide it for them, right? Yeah, I mean, I just, sent my girlfriend a message. She said, hey, baby. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that she knew I was thinking about her, and she responded in a very lovingly way. Anyway, so let's go back to how your body works. We're just a switch. We're creating and consuming. Now, we're either creating and consuming in a distorted way or a healthy way. Very simple. And there are degrees of all of that, right? I mean, there's a degree where you can create in a very super distorted way versus creating in a very healthy way. The most healthy, purest way is when you're in non-judgment of everybody around you and just accepting people for where they are, and then support them for whatever they need, right? You're staying in contact with your higher self, and so you're doing you have two energies that you're projecting. One is supporting from your right hand. Of course, in this picture, it looks like my left hand, but from my viewpoint, it's my right hand. So supporting with the right, blocking with the left, right? Palm goes up with the left. And so you're blocking energies that are toxic or self-defeating, and you're, supporting energies with your right hand that are self-supporting, self-empowering. To make sure that somebody is empowering themselves, make sure that they don't need you, right? And appreciate you, not need, but appreciate. Big difference, right? It feels like you're in an attachment where it's like, oh, if I'm not getting this, I'm going to be in a state of lack. Then you got to pull back and think, okay, I'm never in a state of lack. I'm whole. Make sure you are aware of that and you're fully healed of that. That enables you to continue to provide for your environment, and then it will naturally attract what you need. So, that's, the society we built is built on a dysfunctional masculine energy that results in a dysfunctional feminine energy. So when you're trying to provide in a way that's judgmental and pulling at the same time, then it's a reverse polarity to our creative energy. That's why we see the structures that we built today, right? They're all structured to pull energy towards the center instead of structured to provide and then naturally attract. Now you'll see, the YouTube psychics that we see now are all providing and naturally attracting. So they're providing at different levels of where different people are at, and you can see that when you look through the whole spectrum of that service that they're providing. And there's people that are doing it in a very profound way where they're just helping you see yourself and how you're providing for your environment in a way that is very specific to you, has nothing to do with anybody else, right? I mean, that's ultimately where you need to get. You know, if it feels like if you're responding and being triggered by your environment, you still got a little bit of healing to do, because you're accepting somebody else's projection as their view of how you are, which is false, totally false. Only you can decide who you are, and only you can forgive yourself. That's something that spiritual texts have in some ways revealed, but not as profoundly as they need to. It's never a bad thing to ask someone else for their forgiveness. But if you don't forgive yourself, you're wasting your time. Right? You have to forgive yourself. And if you don't forgive yourself of whatever it is that you think that you did that was bad, it could be several levels of severity, right? If you're attacking your environment in any way, person, place, or thing, you're in some kind of trauma state and you're placing a burden on your environment. Now, never a bad thing to ask for forgiveness, but until you forgive yourself, doesn't matter what that other person says or does, you're wasting your energy. You have to forgive yourself of the things that you think that you did that were wrong, that were harming other people, harming yourself, basically. Or, right, you're going to hold on to it and you're never going to grow. And it's going to always prevent the way that the energy that you're projecting out there. Because if you're thinking of yourself in a low aspect, that's the energy that you're going to project onto your environment. So always think of it that way. So healing that process and how to do that is to just put yourself in service to your environment, the people around you, the people you care about. Ask them how they feel. Hey, how you doing? I just kind of want to check up on you and see how you're doing. Simple things like that. And your own level of self-awareness will start to rise, right? Because you're slowly lifting up those people around you, making sure that they feel supported by you. Now, you need to do this altruistically, because if you say, well, I would like to do that, I can support you if you give me this. Now you've just reversed the polarity of what you're trying to do. That's why altruism is so important. And then people ask, well, how do you survive? Well, you come into higher states of awareness, and it's an evolutionary process that you will start to see, because as you support your environment, it supports you. Not only that, but if it's not supporting you, it will show you how you need to change yourself so that you are supported. Growth cycle. And then at the same time, you're going to trigger your environment, so most of your work ends up being meditative practices to transmute the negative projections of the people around you. Because if you're supporting them in a way that's more and more profound, they're going to, for one thing, they'll question your motives, right? Maybe they think that you're manipulating them. If somebody thinks that you're manipulating you or that you're manipulating them, it's usually because they're a manipulative person, and that's just, nobody believes that somebody could possibly be a higher state of consciousness than themselves. So if they have a natural manipulative tendency, which unfortunately, because of the society we live in, is a common thing, right? Because people think that they're being manipulated by what you're doing in order for you to profit off of them. So that's a problem, right? I mean, if you feel like you're being manipulated, it's all about your own discernment and your ability to discern people's motives. You can eliminate all of that if you're connected in the right way that is supportive in the way that your biofield needs to support it. And we'll get into that tomorrow. I'm sure you guys resonate with all this, right? I mean, everybody that's watching this video has probably been in lots of relationships where somebody's trying to manipulate them for some kind of profit. It doesn't have to be money. It could be for sex. It could be for anything, right? Some kind of manipulation so that they get some kind of gratification out of whatever they're doing. Right. So naturally supporting without want anything in return, and making sure that your intent stays pure that way is what helps you to grow. And then that in turn uh, heals your environment. And so most of your work is making sure that you're meditating and learning to transmute those negative energies that are being projected. And then you become so self-healing that you will disconnect from any kind of negative. It will be so easy to use negative projections and transmute them into just pure energy. You will be an energy just bomb, right? I mean, and your states of awareness will grow. Like, I mean, you'll just go and explode. Your state of mind will, because you'll start to see the bigger picture and go, oh, wow. You literally put on the mind of God, right? Because you're putting on your higher self, starting to understand how everything works. Okay, so the distorted masculine energy is what I just basically said, is any kind of projection with the intent to pull. When we look at our modern business structures, that's what they all look like. When we relationships where people are just feeding off of each other, they're trauma bonding in some way, right? There's some kind of trauma bond there. Healthy relationships are always mutually supportive, and open and honest and vulnerable, tell each other how you care about each other. You guys know this, right? I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. What I'm trying to do is give you guys a process to make sure that if you do this in your environment, it will force you to grow and change in ways that you couldn't imagine. So think about that, and let's look at the next slide. So this is what happens to you physiologically. Physiologically, I said it right. Okay, physiologically. So as you go through this ascension process, and you come into higher states of awareness, just you being able to transmute any kind of negative energy and use that for energy and create and stay in that purely supportive and naturally receptive state, change your physiologically, because physiologically, your cells are made up of atoms, right? Your body's made up of cells, made up of atoms, made up of smaller fields. They're all fields stacked together in a structure that makes it look like it's like the dichotomy of masculine and feminine. So you've got all these fields that are switching so fast, and if they have a negative tendency, that means that they're consuming more than they're creating. If they have a positive charge, then they're creating more than they're consuming. So that's what you're doing internally when you go through this process. You are actually changing yourself biologically, where you're accessing more and more creative energy, because everything comes from the center. You are source. Everything out there is instantaneously connected with you. So the belief system that you need to feed off of your environment starts to swap. You fall out of the old beast nature. That's the major evolutionary cycle that we're going through. By providing for your environment and actually attracting, now you're actually switching your own biology, and all you're doing, it's a growth cycle. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that you will end up grounding out yourself with so much negative energy. You'll have to heal so much until you get to a point where you're finally switching enough to where you'll become more creative, more productive. You won't be consuming hardly anything, right? I mean, I ate some black licorice this morning, but does that count? I don't know. I got my drink, right? My chai tea latte. Excuse me. So, yeah. So you're changing yourself physiologically. People don't, modern physicists are just now starting to understand that, these subatomic particles, nothing's a particle. It's just a field in motion. There isn't anything that we found that's solid, because it's all moving from the center point and back to the center point. When you look at the field, when we look at bigger things, they look like they're solid. But then if we examine it close enough, it's like, oh, it's all empty space and it's just moving, right? That's what creates, and then the negative charges or the tendencies of those things are what creates it static in this three-dimensional reality. As you ascend and you start to change that, if you're changing yourself to a positive tendency, you're going to be able to come in and out of three-dimensional space. I'm not joking. Because you're no longer feeding on it, right? Now you're the creator. Now you're getting your creative tendency, your creative energy. I'm giving you guys a process for ascension, which the readers and the psychics on YouTube are starting to undergo and understand what's going on. And they're no longer, right? You're not feeding on your environment at all. All you're doing, you're purely creative energy and you're just naturally attracting. So that changes you internally. You start doing things, it frees you up, right? Because you're the creator of your own reality. You don't need, you're self-sufficient. You don't need anybody else. And that doesn't mean, you do need people in a way that you need to be supportive for your environment, because all of us are connected, right? So you're creating for the people around you instead of creating something where you're trying to draw them in, where it feels like, selling yourself in some way. You're not selling yourself, you're just providing information for them, right? If somebody's doing a psychic reading for the collective, they're providing information that you find valuable. And if you don't find it valuable, they're not going to be attracted to that, right? So you won't be supported if whatever you're providing doesn't have value, right? Hope this makes sense for you guys. So the idea is to altruistically start to just walk and serve your environment. And as long as you never stop, you'll go through healing cycles. I mean, there'll be times that you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, right? Because all you're doing is just transmuting negative energy. It's feeling like you're not gonna be supported, like you need anything out there. The reality is you don't need anything out there. You're always bringing in what you need, and you'll continue to bring more and more abundance as you grow. And sometimes it takes a long time because, for one thing, people are naturally suspect, in our society. That's going to slowly change because the whole system is going through this growth cycle. I had a meeting this morning and I was talking to somebody. It's exactly the same thing when you see a fungal spore take root in a dying body and decompose it, and then it becomes something new. It takes all that energy from that old structure and allows something new to grow. That's what we're all doing. Like, yeah, I guess you could say that I'm a fungal spore, right? That is placing itself on it, that's taking all the energy from the old system and then creating a new structure to grow. Wonderful, right? What a wonderful time we live in. So, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is just, basic. This is the nature of reality. This is how your own biofield works. And so, the writings of Jesus are very profound if you take them at face value. Put yourself in service to the people around you and carry your own burdens. Try not to lay your burdens on other people. And if you are carrying a burden, take some time for yourself. Meditate, reflect. Make sure you take time to heal. Because we're all creators, right? And we want to create for each other. We don't want to create things that force us to pull on each other's energy. And I want to make sure that you are not relying on me, because I want all of us to be in a retired state of mind to where we can just create whatever we want to create together without feeling like we need to take from each other in order to do that, right? So, yeah. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you on the next one.